Good morning. Good morning, freshman parents. My name is Jody Azzapardi. I have a freshman, and I am the PFA 9th grade education chair. Thanks for coming this morning. Hopefully you'll have a chance to meet some fellow parents, and we are going to hear from Mr. Rothman, who is the 9th grade principal, and we're going to hear from two members of the counseling department, Mrs. Keene and, Mrs. Marsh. And it's just going to be an informal question and answer session, so please raise your hand and ask any questions, as I'm sure if you have the questions, someone else does. And if you have anything else afterwards, they'll be here for a little while, and so will myself, so let me know. Thank you. Great.
You tell me, Lori, I work for you.
Go for it.
Okay. Hi, good morning. I don't need this thing.
You do it because it's recording.
Good morning, I'm Ari Rothman. I'm one of the assistant principals here, and among the three of us, we are grade level administrators. So I have this year the seniors who I followed through and the freshman class. And my plan, unless my agent calls or I win Powerball, I will be here for the 4 years and follow through with them. I guess I am the sort of second or co-leader of their team, their school counselor, and then everybody else who's involved with your kids are the team. I often say the difference between middle school and high school in terms of sort of organizational structure is middle school has these overt teams of teachers. There is the same type of team, if not even greater, at the high school. Just the classes are not teamed. And so you've got a group of people looking for and working with and helping your kids be as successful as they can be. This is a long journey. It is a marathon, not a sprint. And my message always, which of course was useless with my own kids, was let them be 9th graders, let them adjust to high school. They will grow, there will be people helping them along, and basically that's it, and just, we'll be talking about different things, but I'm gonna turn it over to two of our very, very capable and gifted school counselors, Lori Keene and, your name again? Rose Marash. Who will just basically give you an overview of just sort of what goes on both explicitly and behind the scenes in terms of helping freshmen acclimate to the high school, and then the things that go on as we move through the year and years.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. Good intro, Ari. And part of today, usually the freshman parent networking meeting is very casual, very relaxed. We want to leave ample time for tons of questions because often that guides kind of where we go with our conversation. So please feel free to act up. We have Mr. Egan that's with us. Do you want to say, I'm putting you on the spot. Quick hello, microphone or not.
I just want to say welcome, and I hope everyone's having a great start to the year. And if there's ever any questions, you can come ask me personally, or obviously these guys are going to come today. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope today is very informational for you, and I just hope your children are enjoying the time. So thanks.
Thanks, Bill. So raise of hands, who's first-time parents here at the high school? Okay, majority. Okay, awesome. So as you can see, veteran parents, raise your hand. Excellent. See, and they made it through. They're here for learning. One wonderful thing about our school counseling program is that at New Canaan High School, we stay with our students all 4 years, which is wonderful, just like you'll stay with Mr. Rothman all 4 years. So we really get to build those relationships and really get to know both you and your students. And for those of you who are new to the school, we also stay with any younger siblings, which is really nice because once you're freshmen, before you know it, when they graduate, we're still able to keep a pulse on how the older children are doing. So that's one thing that I really love how we set up our department. We want to talk about the Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on Friday, you will soon be hearing about what is going on with Freshman Fundamentals. It is a wonderful program that was put together by a lot of wonderful people in the building, including some school counselors, our emotional coordinator, our librarians. They are fantastic. The first part of the morning at 8 o'clock, all students are going to be directed into the auditorium. We have a wonderful speaker that you'll hear about soon when you get an email about the day, but you guys are here so you could hear hot off the press news before that email goes out, a bonus of coming today. Then after that wonderful assembly, we are breaking the class into half, so by alphabet. So one half of the class is going to go meet with their counselor in small groups where we get to meet with them again in a small group. We're going to be diving in, doing a debrief of how the speaker went. We want to open up that dialogue, hear what they learned, what are their takeaways from the speaker. Then we are going to do a learning productivity assessment with the students. It's a learning productivity Achieve Works through Naviance, because right now, here we are in October, a lot of times freshmen for the first time realize, I have to change up my study habits a little bit, right? What worked in Saks maybe didn't work here. There's more silo courses, just like Mr. Rothman mentioned, that they were all on a team before. This year, there may be 2 tests on one day, so definitely more time management and those sorts of things. So we are going to give them an assessment so they could figure out how they learned best and what are things that they could tweak down to, oh, I prefer bright light. Well, you're not going to change your lighting, but maybe go to Staples and get a little desk lamp so they're able to see better and those sorts of things. And then just some other fun things that we're doing with the freshmen. So that's with the school counselors section. Then the kids are going to flip. Then the other students are going to go to the cafeteria, and they are going to be working on their digital boot camp if they have not finished that. That's done by our media specialists. It is so helpful that they complete that boot camp. It'll set them up for success, anything research library related. And then our amazing librarians have all these fun stations set up in the library that's going to help them access, if I have to do research, where do I go? This is the makerspace and just all the really fun things, because our library is truly amazing. We had PD, I think was that last year when we got introduced to all these areas, and I've been here 21 years and I never knew everything that we have, because they have just grown what is available for students. It's just an amazing experience. So we're happy to offer that to all of your kids on Friday.
So, I mean, this is,
Sorry, that one doesn't work. There you go.
okay, thanks, you gave me the broken one. This is just sort of a sample of the type of programming we do. The year's begun, your kids have gone through several times of the cycle in terms of their classes. Over the course of 4 years, they're going to meet all the graduation requirements, all the distribution requirements. And ideally, what makes a successful first month of freshman year, I would say if kids are getting to know their teachers, teachers are getting to know them as learners, working with them, sort of getting a pace, getting a sense of things, what's required for the classes, obviously, developing that relationship to go for extra help if they need it with teachers. I always recommend that the first sort of line should always be the kid and the teacher working together. That gives them a chance to develop that instructional and learning relationship. The program that the counselors are going to run, and the reason they're doing it this Friday is because we're doing the PSAT with the sophomores and the juniors. And the seniors are doing college-related activities and so on and so forth. But again, there are programs that are class-wide for all freshmen. I believe, second quarter are the freshman meetings?
Yep.
Yeah. So the kids will meet their counselors, start to map out a 4-year plan, look at the big picture, and then it's just continuous monitoring throughout. My message is always going to be, not to dismiss or separate out parents, but my feeling is I work for your kids. And so we want to be there to help them. We want them to come to us if they need something. And again, their success is our success, and we'll take full credit for it. But again, it's really a journey. Ninth grade is a big adjustment no matter what. Middle schools and high schools, not just with the structure, but they're different animals. And so a lot of the learning skills and a lot of, will be developed over the course of ninth grade and continue on. Kids will grow. I say that, we are a school of nearly 1,300 different learners. And so therefore our teachers work with a variety of kids and get to know them and support them. And that's really it. There's a lot of opportunity, as I'm sure you've heard, in all the different orientations and everything published, for kids to get involved in what I call the school community, be through co-curricular activities, so on and so forth. We want kids to feel part of a community. We want kids to explore interests, not just in classes and in elective choices, but also, again, through co-curriculars. And that's it, really. It's a process. They're going to grow. They're going to be very different people from year to year. And what they want to do, what they are interested in, what they are directed to try is going to be a yearly thing. Just as recommendations and placements are done in every single class, every single year, managed, of course, by the school counselors with your kids. This is the kickoff to a long process of growth and exploration. And again, I keep saying, we're there to sort of be the safety net and to help them and to guide them and help them develop the individual skills, the self-advocacy, so on and so forth. And I often say, by the time a kid graduates high school, the most important thing is that they know themselves as a learner. They know what works for them. They know not just the learning styles that will be addressed and highlighted for them, but also that they know how to access support, use resources. Lori mentioned the library. The library is a library, a makerspace, an innovation lab. Teachers across all disciplines use it as part of instruction. And there's just a ton of stuff here for kids to be creative and also to demonstrate their learning in a variety of ways. So that's the big picture.
Yeah, I'd also like to add to what Ari said about building that community. That's one of the purposes behind building blocks. The end of October, I think October 30th is our next building block, and that's when we're going to get together with our freshmen, but just by our counselees, so we get to spend time with just our own individual students. And we're going to dive in to get them thinking about what does a tentative 4-year plan look like. We're also going to hopefully build in some fun community, just building activities so kids can get to know each other. Because it's quite remarkable, even the students that have been together since kindergarten, friendships change, they drift, so it's nice just to come back and learn about each other because there's so much learning that occurs through our peers. I also want to echo what Ari said, how, we work for your kids, but also we want to partner with you. Your counselors are here for you. There's no such thing as a silly question. If you're a veteran mom or if you're a first-time mom, parent here with us and guardian, there's no such thing as a silly question. Every kid is different. It's so amazing. I see that with my own 2 boys. Sometimes I'm like, they're from the same gene pool. So we are here for you. Call, email, whatever you need. As high school goes on, we want the students to be more in the driver's seat. But oftentimes we need a little bit more partnership, especially in the beginning of, oh, he's not going for extra help. I'll call him down and we'll help coach. Because a lot of times freshmen and 10th graders, they don't know how to ask for help. Because sometimes it's the first time that they have to go see a teacher for extra help. So we're here to help them do that as well. Speaking about seeking support, I know we already mentioned that the teachers here are amazing. They're always available for extra help. I know an open house, hopefully you heard when they're available. Some are after school, some are before school, especially if they live far away. They like to get kids in the morning. And so whenever a kid comes to me saying, oh, I'm struggling in this level, one of the first things I ask is, have you been in for extra help? So the teachers are always the first line. We're here for your kids as well. I also want to note that we are located in the school counseling suite, and why it's called as a suite, it's just not the 9 school counselors in the College and Career Center director. We also have 2 social workers in that office and 2 school psychologists that are wonderful supports. We also have a kids in crisis outreach social worker. She's located not in our suite. She's actually across from the hall from the nurse's office, and her name is Martha. Kids absolutely love her, and she's a great benefit for all of our students. And of course, the nurses, our resource officers, and our administrators, just to kind of list everybody there. Also on top of supports, anybody here that we have a writing center? Some kids shared, okay, great. The writing center is available for all of our students, 9th through 12th grade, and a lot of freshman English teachers incorporate a mandatory stop in the writing center to get this reviewed, to get the kids used to using those resources. And the math center is just drop and help. There is a schedule for that we all have. That's a great resource as well.
Okay, now it's time for the Q&A. I always like to tell my freshmen, I understand that it's hard to ask what you don't know what to ask. But if there's anything that you have any questions on, we're more than happy to answer.
And 100%, if you have that question, somebody else does, so.
Back to the writing center, so a student could go there just to get sort of like tutoring on how to maybe write a paper or?
Yeah, the question was about the writing center. What is it there for? Is it tutoring? A student would bring a piece of writing that they're doing. Usually you're looking at English or history. Then they bring it to the writing center teacher. It's the second half of the period, so it's only point 2 of that period, the second half of the large period. And then they go and say, oh, I'm working on a paper in English. Can you please help? And that draft, it could be in the beginning phases of the draft. It could be, I think I'm ready to turn it in. I think I'm almost done, but just getting another set of eyes on it. And also that extra work doesn't go unnoticed. When a student goes to the writing center, then their English teacher, if they're going there for an English paper, will then get an email from the writing center to say, oh, Johnny was in the writing center, this is what we worked on, and here are my suggestions. So that whole, linking, keeping people in for collaboration, so the English teacher knows what they're working, and also what teacher doesn't like to hear, oh yes, went to the writing center, so.
So is that available every hour, the second half of the hour?
Mhm.
And who staffs that? Is that?
It's his history teacher and English teachers are staffed with it. And right outside of the writing center, students can see the list of what teachers are in there what period.
So my son is really into rowing now. He's doing 3 hours every day after school. Should I be worried or should I be super worried?
Time management. Yeah.
I'm the last parent to comment about worrying about your children. Here's sort of a student's reality. They're here 8 o'clock to 2:30. We have a lot of kids who do at least one sport. We have a lot of kids involved in theater. I would say figure then kids are involved in a sport, whether it's with the school or outside the school. Girls who dance, all right, and they dance, every afternoon. So you're talking about, figure 3 o'clock till dinner time. All right, so from 7, whenever they get up in the morning, all right, come to school, and then they're not able to start their work until after dinner, when they are probably physically exhausted. That's going to impact. And again, every kid is different, but it depends on how much time kids need. I mean, I've often said, I taught history at the college level. You put me in a remedial math class, it's going to take me 5 hours to do it. If it takes me that long to do that, and I'm starting after dinner when I'm physically exhausted and have no time during the day, again, every kid's different. So I think it goes to really, really paying attention to what the mental stamina is when they're home. Because I think that does. Sure, we want kids to be involved. But there's realities also in the day. We want them to get good sleep and so on and so forth. So it goes to really a bunch of things. By going to, we used to have a schedule, goes back, I would say, a good 4, maybe 5 years, where we had 48-minute periods that met every single day. Or one would drop at 7 to 8 periods. By going to the block schedule, we have 4, at most 4 periods, 4 blocks each day. So 1 through 5, 1 through 4 today, 5 through 8 tomorrow with rotation. That cuts down on the amount of homework, if you will, the kid has to do for the next day. But the reality is, there still is work to be done. So I think the time management piece varies from kid to kid. And also, goes to the amount of time that they have and the ability to really, really focus. I know, so again, it depends. But I think one of the things that will become apparent is how much they're able to keep up with the work in their classes. Ideally, they're appropriately placed, and so should be able to do the work in a reasonable amount of time and stay with it. But that's the main question about sort of gauging how a kid is keeping up. But I will say this, and this is where I sometimes get myself in trouble as a school administrator. Yes, I want kids to do things and have fun. But if we're at a point where we're being asked to adjust the school day and the work to accommodate a co-curricular, that's where I think there is a disconnect that isn't in the kid's best interest. So it really goes to the big picture of watching your kid, getting a sense of how they're holding up with everything. That's really what it comes down to.
Using the study halls and the free periods is probably the best, because sometimes they don't realize.
Yeah, he's doing that for sure, but I'm worried about escalating. Thank you.
So kind of coupling on that, can you explain the whole free study hall, health, PE, what changes quarter to quarter, semester to semester?
Yeah, the idea very simply is over the course of 8 class blocks, kids are enrolled in, I would say, 5 core academics, what we're considered, English, social studies, math, science, world language. Plus, there is a little piece of the science class that is sort of twice a cycle, which is called a mini or a lab block. And then all kids, 9 through 12, take a semester of health and a semester of physical education. Those are half block classes. So they would meet, for instance, either 1.1 or 1.2, okay? And then there's also electives in there. So the way the schedule is going to be constructed is going to ideally put a lot of these pieces together. And then what happens is you have still a block that's free. For freshmen, we have, if it's a full block free, we have a study hall. And they're assigned to the study hall. It's a class. Attendance is taken. And it's designed primarily to give them a location to get at least a block's worth of work done during the day. Now, beyond that, if there's a half block or whatever, then they're free. And they can, get extra help, whatever. It's unassigned time. Freshmen can't leave campus during the day. And so that's really what it is. There was a movement, actually, I would even say, across comparable schools to fill every minute with a study hall, to not give freshmen free time. Again, if we're gonna have kids develop responsibility. So that's why we just do the one block.
So, when you're talking about the library and the makerspace, and can they go during their block of study hall, or they can only go on their half period that's opposite health? Like, when can they go there?
They're probably going more often than not with classes, because a lot of teachers have worked that in. In terms of study hall, if they need to go see a teacher, or they're working on something, they can sign out and go to the library,
Got it.
if they need to. You know, again,
So they just have to check in and say,
yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is.
okay.
It's a scheduled, I don't want to say class, but it's a scheduled class, that, we have to know where kids are.
Just a question about the clubs. Seems like there's so many great offerings for clubs, but if your student played a sport, they're not available because they're right after school?
No, they meet at all different times,
Oh, they do? Okay.
yeah.
Some clubs are more involved than other clubs. For example, we have the Best Buddies clubs, they meet in the evening. And also with athletes, depending on what season, some seasons are shorter than others. So fall, soccer, football, those are long season, they get home late at night. A student that may do indoor track in the winter, it's shorter, so then maybe they pick up a little bit more clubs then if there's time. Remember, the grand scheme, we want kids to try clubs and get exposed to things, but we're not looking for kids to do a million things, right? We want quality over quantity. But there are some ones that are very flexible and that they meet once a month after.
Okay.
Does the Math Center work the same way as the Writing Center, where it's open that second half of the period, drop in?
I believe so.
It's not every half of the period, because we have, the man who runs it is not available, sometimes he's in the classroom. All of us counselors, we have a copy of the math teacher schedule, so if we talk about it, we have the students take a picture, so they have it. And it's probably on the math department website, I would assume, they're very organized.
Thanks.
And he's wonderful.
So if your child does need to kind of rethink the study approach, and is very resistant to parental input.
I've never
I've
heard that before.
Do we just tell them to maybe see their guidance counselor? Like, this is executive function stuff, really needs a bit of a overhaul.
So what's really nice is we have a class, if it gets to the point where we're really seeing the student that's struggling, needs help with executive functioning skills specifically. We have a class called ACEs, and there is a teacher who specializes in executive functioning skills, time management, organization, how to use graphic organizers, whatever appeals to their learning style. The first half of the block is her teaching the students these skills, and then the second half of the block is them applying the skills. So usually what we'll do is ask individual students, once we get to know them a little bit better, do you think that you would benefit from having ACEs in your schedule? We have a lot of athletes that take advantage of it just because, you run out of time as a kid, you don't know how to prioritize tasks. So I would always recommend, if you see your child is not taking you up on the help that you're trying to give to them, and they really feel like they can do it all on their own, but you recognize the struggle, reach out to us, because we're more than happy to talk to the ACEs teacher just to see if it's a good fit for the student and make sure that they're really going to benefit and take advantage of the class.
And also sometimes even before ACEs, send your son or daughter to us. Sometimes we just need a conversation. We could give them just some study tips of how to better organize their time. Something as simple as, so when you take a break, tell me how long does it typically last for? Too long, which we're all culprits of that. So recommending setting a timer, recommending moving the location of where they're doing work to be less distracted. A lot of those little tweaks that just happen one-on-one in our office. So those are always fun conversations to have with them.
But it's also, again, I go back to, I think a kid is always going to, my older son, who is now 35, and I still worry about it. I used to say if he were on fire and I said, get a bucket of water and pour it on yourself, he'd scream at me, Dad, why are you yelling? So we used to have, when he was young, we used to have the two-father rule where I would always coach the sport with another father. And I would say, do me a favor, tell Matt, take 2 steps back. And then I would do the same thing for his kid. So even though you're the first parent who's ever mentioned that, okay, the reality is you be the parent, let us help and direct your kid, and so on and so forth. I think a piece of this also is if the kid is having a hard time managing or not staying on top of understanding something in a subject, encourage them to go see their teacher. I mean, again, I'm very, very confident and proud of our teachers, almost as much as I am of our counselors. Was that right? Somebody said that? But at the same time, even in a smaller class, the opportunities for a teacher and student to work one-on-one, to get to know each other. There's a lot of this that goes on by going to the 85-minute block. There's been a lot of work, and there's ongoing work on how you use that time for larger group instruction, break it up, individual conferencing, so on and so forth. But always, always begin by encouraging kids to work with their teachers. And then if there are sort of like things that are common across the board, the counselor will be ideally the person to sort of make suggestions, manage, and work with that kid.
I think it's important to just reiterate that as freshmen, they're just learning how to self-advocate, so they really don't know who to go to. So when it comes to talking to their teachers, a lot of them are terrified and just assume the worst, like, oh, they hate me, and I didn't hand in one assignment, and now they're just totally against me, and I don't want to be in this class anymore. And it's this fear, right, that builds up and snowballs. So by them coming into our offices, oftentimes it's just us asking, is it okay if we talk to your teacher first? And usually when they have that little bit of legroom, they'll calm down, they'll understand that we're there for them, the teachers are actually there for them, because then we can build that connection and allow them to advocate for themselves, show the teachers they have done something to come in and ask for help. It might not be directly to the teacher, but the teachers also understand that as well. We have amazing teachers here. This is my second year here, and I can't tell you how phenomenal the teachers are, the teachers and the kids, and how open they are and willing to help. Even the strictest are there. They're strict because they care. So just keep that in mind as well.
Great, we could still take some more questions, but while you guys are thinking of questions, we also wanted to highlight our school counseling department website. It's a ton of great information. This is where you'll find the course of studies program, things that we do with 9th graders, 10th graders. There's objectives each year so you can know what we're doing with the students. And every year we also have programs for parents. So we always have a program in spring where we say what we've been doing with your students and what are we looking ahead for 10th grade. So we have programs for you all throughout the way. Just like this Thursday, we have financial aid night, and it's never, 9th graders are certainly welcome to it. Join. It's right here in the Wagner Room, 7 o'clock this Thursday. You could just see the website has tons of helpful information that you could click on. And we also have a monthly Counseling Chronicles, used to be guidance update for those of you who are veterans. We revamped it, looks really nice, and this is kind of what's up and coming. And it's also broken down. You can see seniors, take a look at this, sophomores and juniors, freshmen, which we'll have to scroll down. That gets sent out once a month. You usually get an e-blast about that, but you could also always access that on our school counseling website.
Thank you for the cheap plug for counseling. Again, I mean, if there's parents who are not first-time high school parents, is there anything we didn't address that you think might be something that new to the high school parents might not even be aware of. Wow, everything's perfect, I like it. Good.
It seems like everyone I know has health this semester.
Yes.
Do all freshmen have health?
Yes,
this semester?
freshmen and sophomores have health first semester,
Okay.
and then phys ed second semester. 11th, 12th graders have phys ed the first semester and health second semester. That was a conscious choice to have underclassmen the first semester, because the health curriculum does a lot of stuff with decision-making, informed decision-making. There's a piece in there like digital literacy. So it's probably the closest thing we have, in addition to the specific school counselor programs, of sort of like a general freshman orientation. And
Stress management they go over, what's the difference of healthy stress versus not healthy stress?
yes. So yes, that's intentional.
Is there a time during freshman year when we meet one-on-one with the student's counselor? No? Is that something we set up separately if we want to talk to them?
Yeah, give your
Okay,
counselor a
no,
call, but we don't have set up one-on-one meetings with, just parents. Of course, if there's a need to, we need to get together, the three of us, we could absolutely sit and have a discussion. But this upcoming November meetings, when we start meeting with our students one-on-one for the freshman appointment, that one is just for the student, because we're trying to get to know them, and kids tend to talk a little bit more when they're just in our offices one-on-one. And then we build a tentative 4-year plan, which is then sent home. But anytime throughout the year, we are accessible. If you work, it's tricky, we could always have a Zoom meeting, we could always have a meeting in person. Sometimes things could be resolved right on the phone. It's there's no blanket answer. I just hope you hear that we're here for you, and whatever you all need, we can make it happen.
How often do you meet with the students for the year?
So that's a tricky question. So one-on-one, our freshmen all get their individual meeting. We also, with our seniors in the fall, do an individual senior appointment so that they're all set for college applications. Juniors, we do a dual with parents meeting in the spring, and then sophomores it's more so upon request. I would say that if we are meeting with a student, it's because they sought us out, or we sought them out for a reason of concern. Maybe it's attendance, maybe teachers come down and ask us to meet with the student because they have concern either around the class or something that they have been seeing. Sometimes I just check in with my students because I haven't heard from them in a while and I want to make sure they're okay. Or maybe it's their birthday, sometimes I reach out and say happy birthday. Whatever we can do to make sure that they know that we're there and that we're here to help.
And on top of every progress report and report card, we're looking over all the students' report cards and progress reports. If there's questions, we'll call the kids down individually and set up one-on-one meetings. And we also meet in the springtime, usually in March, we meet one-on-one with all of our students for course selection, and that's all 3 years. We meet with the students for course selection, and it's a nice time to also check in with them. We look at their grades, how are things going, and also making sure that they're picking courses that are aligning with their interests and so forth.
And just so you know, all of those courses are based upon recommendations from the teachers that they currently have. So they are recommending which level that they go in for the next year. There's sometimes confusion that the school counselors are there putting together the schedules for each and every student. We're not. We have our meetings with the students. We're making sure that they get the courses that they would like to have choices of, and then we are able to go in and make sure that everything's all separated out in lines. Yeah.
As I said, there's placement and recommendations every year. My feeling is that it is incumbent upon every teacher that your kid has to make an informed recommendation based on having worked with them. It starts after the mid-year. as to where they think in the sequence of courses in that discipline, where they'll be most successful. It's a recommendation. It's an awareness of what's expected at the next course. And again, it's a recommendation. What happens in the discussion that follows, if a kid wants to be considered for, let's say, an accelerated course, fine. Then a more granular discussion begins. Okay, and it really then the kid has an opportunity to appeal for it. And again, there should always be an informed recommendation, not yes, no. Listen, based on what we've seen this year, based on this type of work, this is what you'll be expected to do. I think it might be tough for you. Okay? Or, I don't know, give it a chance. But again, each of the disciplines is doing that in a vacuum. So when it comes time to sit down with the counselor, then yes, it is up to the counselor to counsel and look at the sum total of those recommendations and figure out what's the proper balance.
Right, that balance is absolutely key. Even if they're recommended for the highest level in all 5 core academics, it doesn't mean that's meant for them. Just as Mr. Rothman said, that each teacher makes their recommendations in a silo. That team from sex is no longer. So it's always, which is your favorite course? Maybe let's kick it up a notch. We ask the kids, what's their time commitment like after school? Because we want kids challenged, but not overwhelmed. And if a student decides to stay in a regular level for 1 year, no level is ever set in stone for the following 3 years. Everything's about a balance. They do really well. They're ready for the next challenge. That next level course could be at the honors or APs the following year. So there's no tracking or anything.
Yeah,
And remember that key, challenge, not overwhelmed.
I like to put the analogy there. I can juggle. I can bake. I can surf. I can ride a bike. I do it really well. Each of them really well. But can I do them all at once? So that's where you want
I was wondering where it was going, but I like that.
right? So even though they may have the ability to do all of these things and do them well, once they put them all together, is it going to be too overwhelming? So just something maybe even to say to your child if they're saying, oh, I want to be an honors this, honors that, AP this, AP that, I need to further colleges, and they start to get overwhelmed. Another thing is the colleges are looking for students to have a pathway. They want to make sure there's a plan. They don't want to see just a ton of rigorous courses put together, but not the support behind it, right? So we're lucky enough where we have colleges come into a college panel and talk to parents about expectations in the admissions process. And I would say a majority of the time they're saying, yes, we appreciate when students are taking AP level courses, but we don't want them just to be taking APs to take APs. We want to make sure that there is an alignment to their future and that they are doing it with a path in mind and a mature head on their shoulders.
And things, again, you know what's going on in terms of your own kids, in terms of their growth and change over the course of these years. And so, again, my message is, keep everybody focused on 9th grade, doing the best that they can, doing the best. The counselors do keep that eye on the big picture. Because one of the things that I have seen here, and again, even though I live and raise my sons in a comparable town, not Darien, with a comparable school system, I turned to these counselors here because I could. There is a consistent metric that I am very confident of in all my years here. 100% of our graduates have valid plans and opportunities. So the preparation for that 3.5-year, 4-year arc of growth and learning and preparation for life after high school is looked at is managed. It starts with a discussion of the four-year plan, laying out, at the very least, how you can meet the graduation requirements of the state and what areas you want to pursue. But it's an ongoing, evolving discussion that the counselors have and will always manage very thoughtfully and very, very well. And therein lies the discussion with the parent and with the kid as to what is recommended for the following years. Yes, we're good.
Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone.